everybody. I'm Senator Alyssa Slotkin coming to you again with our weekly intelligence update. I want to talk about three things, as always: economic update, national security update, democracy update. I want to highlight some things that I think really need to cut through because they impact a lot of Americans, particularly Michiganders. On economic security, I want to talk about some of the proposed cuts to Medicaid and what that's going to do across the board in the healthcare industry and for prices on the ground in Michigan. I want to talk, number two, about national security and the role of foreign influence, foreign actors over the Trump administration with some of the moves they've been making lately. And then number three, on democracy. These conversations we've been hearing about that the president's been having about suspending habeas corpus, or a constitutional right to a trial and your day in court. So on the economic issues, we've had a really big week this week. You've probably heard the president talk about his big, beautiful bill, his signature piece of legislation that he's been talking about basically since he was sworn in. He's been talking about it and talking about it. Now we have in black and white the actual text of the bill. It's starting in the House of Representatives, and we can start to see what exactly he is proposing to do. There's a lot of things in that bill, but I wanted to pull out in particular an issue that is, I think, on the scale of importance really high up there because it has the potential to affect every American, and in particular, every American's health care. The issue is on cuts, significant cuts to Medicaid. Now in Michigan, 2.6 million out of 10 million Michiganders are on Medicaid, but Medicaid pays for a lot of things, even if you're not on Medicaid at all. The bill that was just put forward in the House threatens to take away health care in total from about 13 million people. And if you think about that, number one, you have a lot of people going without health care. You have a lot of people going without preventive care, without seeing a doctor. But then you have a lot of people who are still going to go to the hospital. They're still going to have an emergency, a heart attack, some sort of pain, and they're still going to show up at our hospitals, except now they just won't be insured. Now, our hospitals have an obligation to treat whoever walks through those doors in the emergency room. So now you have a situation where our hospitals won't be reimbursed for the costs of that coverage. That has pretty significant implications for our hospitals, particularly rural hospitals. It has implications for our nursing homes, for mental health coverage, for home visitor coverage, right? If those organizations can't get reimbursed by Medicaid, are they going to be able to keep their doors open? Are they going to be able to serve the public? The other way this affects every single American is if there's a bunch of new uninsured people showing up at our emergency rooms, showing up and needing help. We believe that it makes the case to our hospitals, to our health companies, that they just now need to charge more for the people who already have insurance. On the issue of national security and foreign policy, I want to talk for just a second about what foreign influence over our government means, right? I'm a former CIA officer. When we're trained, we spend a lot of time making sure that we are not vulnerable to foreign influence. And there's been two big things in the past week or 10 days that have really rung the bell, the threat bell on foreign influence over the Trump administration. One, you've probably heard about the gift of the jet that the government of Qatar gave to the President of the United States. The President said he wants to use it as his new Air Force One, right? The most important plane probably in the world, the command and control for our military, a place where you can launch the nuclear arsenal. Very, very important plane, and work that goes on in that plane is incredibly sensitive. He is accepting this gift and proposing to make this plane his Air Force One. And then separately, the president, as I've mentioned before, has started his own cryptocurrency, and he's advertising it. His children run the company. He's been advertising that cryptocurrency. So first, on the jet, why is it a problem for a foreign government to gift the president a big plane like that? Well, first of all, there are lots of rules in the government that I've seen firsthand that would say this is a non-starter, right? I remember when I was at the Pentagon, we had a mid-level official who was accused of accepting a gift, actually also from the Qatari government, of a motorcycle and a few other things, and just not reporting it. just that, a motorcycle, nothing compared to a plane, was considered so sensitive and so open to influence, Qatari influence over this official, that there was a formal FBI investigation. There were documents seized, there were interviews of the staff, and that was on the issue of a motorcycle. This is a jet, $400 million jet. And the issue of foreign influence really comes out when it comes to what kind of payback the government of Qatar wants for that kind of a generous gift, right? What kind of sway or influence do they have over someone like the president, given how generous they've been with this gift? So for instance, let's say, and this is hypothetical, but let's say a foreign government has been asking desperately for sensitive American technology, sensitive American chips or something. And we've been saying, no, 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 we're concerned about the security risk of giving you that technology. We're not going to sell that to you right now. That was developed for our military. Well, now, once a gift like this has been given, what does that conversation look like and feel like, right? Do the Qataris say, well, we gave you this nice gift. Can't you make us a deal on the sensitive technology? Can't you think about actually giving it to us? It compromises the decision-making of senior officials who would otherwise just be focused on American interests and not thinking about Qatari interests, right? And doing what's better for them. So that's the kind of thing we mean when we talk about influence over a conversation, over negotiations. Not to mention that for that jet to ever be converted into an Air Force One, you'd need to scrub that thing clean, dismantle it, make sure there's no bugs, no tracking devices, no sensitive equipment that's been put in there. So costing the taxpayer, again, potentially, we think up to $1 billion to do that retrofitting. So again, deep concern about the gift of this jet and then the cost to the taxpayers of retrofitting it. And then there's the cryptocurrency, right? The President of the United States has done something unprecedented. He started his own cryptocurrency, right? His own meme coin. His kids run the company. He's been advertising it. And he's just very openly advertising that the first, 220 people who really give a lot of money and buy a lot of money of this cryptocurrency will get a special private dinner at the White House, exceptional access, and he's advertising that openly. Well, as it turns out, the people who are buying much of this coin that he's been putting out are foreigners, right? We even got a report this week of a kind of no-name company with ties to the Chinese government who just made a huge purchase of the president's cryptocurrency. So they're buying themselves a ticket to the White House. They're buying themselves access, and shoulder-to-shoulder access with the president. They're not doing that for their health. They're doing that because they want to impress upon him something that they want, not something that's in American interest, something that's in Chinese interest or anyone else's interest. And again, that just taints our thinking and decision-making on national security issues. So those are issues of influence. I've launched a bill that would say any elected official, Democrat or Republican, shouldn't be able to start their own cryptocurrency while they're in office and make money from it. Lastly, on democracy, on the issue of democracy, lots of issues here, lots of concerns about threats to our democracy, but I want to focus on one that's maybe not getting as much attention as it should. And that's the issue of the president and his senior-most advisors having conversations about suspending habeas corpus. What is habeas corpus? It's a Latin for your right to your day in court, right? It's something that is enshrined in the Constitution. It's something that's inherent to us as American citizens, that you can't just be detained without a right to a trial or to see a judge. You can't just be put behind bars and left there. You have a right for your day in court, right? To push back and to fight. It's really essential to who we are, because it was the British who actually used to put the American rebels in jail and not give them the opportunity to protest, to have their day in court. So we wrote that in, our founders did, to our Constitution. So in the past couple of weeks, we've heard about Stephen Miller, a very close advisor to the president, having conversations with the president about suspending Americans' rights, everyone's rights, to their day in court. Now, he's talking about going after certain categories of people, people who have legal status to be here. But in the past couple of weeks, past couple of months really, we've seen just all kinds of sloppy administrative errors. We've seen folks going after American citizens wrongly, targeting them for immigration orders. We've seen people go after lawful immigrants, people who have a right to be here. When we start talking about suspending habeas corpus, it should really bring a shiver down the spine of every American, because it's foundational to who we are. And it's completely contrary to our values and our traditions to get rid of that legal ability to challenge your detainment in court. So I wanted to put that on people's radars, because while it may be a conversation kind of quietly happening over here, we should all be concerned if we're talking about suspending our Constitution in any way. So those are the three things that I'm really watching this week. Those are the three things that I think break through for the average person, would have undue impact on the average person. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll be back next week.